Shalom, everyone, and we are studying this week Parashat Koraḥ because the second day of Shavuot was on Shabbat. So outside Israel, the reading is lagging 1 week behind and behind Israel. So Parashat Koraḥ is being read a week apart between Israel and outside Israel. Still, Torah is the Torah and the study is a study. And we start Parashat Koraḥ in the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 16, verse 1. ויקח קורח בן יצהר בן קהת בן לוי ודתן ואבירם בני אליהו. And here we have the story, the famous story of Koraḥ. Koraḥ, the word that starts the parasha is vayikach, and he took, which is a very weird way to start an essay, a story, a chapter, and he took. It says you don't do it in Hebrew, it doesn't fit, although the first word of the parasha is vayikach, and he took, and from there we already understand the problem. Of course, there are many commentaries. What does it mean? What did he take? And most commentaries are talking about that he took a bad advice. Who gave him the advice? Who forced him to listen to the advice? And if you don't know what the story of Koraḥ was let's say, in a very similar manner than last week's parasha, Shlach Lecha, we have basically the same content. Because if we separate the details, in both cases we have, in Parashah Shlach Lecha, we have, in this story is the heads of the tribes that were the most righteous, the wisest, the most powerful, the bravest of all the Israelites. Moses is sending them, 12 of them, to tour the land, to get some intel about the land, to get some sense of the land. Basically, he sends them to test how the nation of Israel reacts to the unusual powers of the Holy Land. The whole world knows this land as the Holy Land. However, this is their first encounter after a few centuries. And the encounter was really scary. They had no ability to deal with the irregularities of the Holy Land. And as we learned in the previous week, Parashat Shlach Lecha is talking about these holiest, wisest people of the nation of Israel. Those people were sitting daily with Moses, not because they were great politicians, because they were amazing human beings. So, and they got into a place in which they came to the wrong idea, and they tried to deliver that idea that they are not ready to enter the land to the nation of Israel. And the Israelites bought that idea, and the result was a delay of 40 years entering the promised land. Here we have, not long later, Koraḥ, who is again, Koraḥ is a Levite. The Levites were not represented among the 12. Only the 12 tribes were represented, the 12 tribes are camping around the tabernacle. Now, that the tribe that was really camping around the tabernacle was Levi, and Koraḥ was a Levite. He was a Levite, but he was also one of the wisest, holiest, smartest, and most capable of all the Levites. He was Moses' cousin. However, he had also a problem. He thought, if I'm so talented, and he was also very, very rich. Till today, when you want to say in Hebrew that somebody is extremely, unusually rich, you say rich as Koraḥ. Okay? Because Koraḥ was legendary rich, still he didn't have enough. He wanted the priesthood. He wanted to take from Aaron to take the job of the high priest. So, again, like in Parashat Shlach Lecha, we have to remember we are not bad-mouthing or talking slander about people who lived 33 centuries ago. Okay? We are talking about ourselves. We study Torah for making ourselves better human beings. But it's not just that Korah had a problem. He instigated, brainwashed, deliberately. He was wise enough to make it even worse. He said, why can't we put the job of the Kohen for a test? And he brought 250 other people from other tribes to want to have that contest of who gets the priesthood. And he tells them, because he wants to hide the idea that he wants a priesthood for himself, he said, let's put that job for a test. Anyone who wants a job can apply. And that we read chapter 16, verse 2, Vayakumu lifnei Moshe. So he says that Koraḥ with Datan and Aviram. Datan and Aviram are troublemakers even before the Exodus. Okay? They were from the tribe of Reuben. And they also, as we said, they instigated 250 more people. Vayakumu lifnei Moshe, verse 2, and they rose in front of Moses and people from the children of Israel, 50 u'matayim nesei edah, 250 leaders. Also, leaders, holy people, all of them stood in front of Moses. We want the job. Funny, we have to read again verse 3. Vayikalu al Moshe, and they gathered around Moses and Aaron, al Moshe ve'Aaron, vayimru aleim, and they tell them, Rav lachem, you have enough. Ki kol ha'edah kulam kedoshim, everybody is holy. We should be liberal, equality, fraternity, whatever slogans that human beings raise when they want the power. Kulam kedoshim, everybody is holy. Uvetocham Hashem, Hashem is amongst all of us. Madua titnas'u al ke'al Hashem, why do you patronize the holy congregation of God? Vayishma Moshe vayipol al panav. Moses hears that and he falls over his face. That's verse 4. Okay, so then Moses says, Vayidaber el Koraḥ ve'el kol agadato. Moses speaks to Koraḥ and all his followers. Le'emor boker, morning, ve'yoda Hashem et asher lo ve'et hakadosh. God will choose who is his priest and who is the Holy One. Ve'ikriv elav, and he will bring him closer. Ve'et asher yivchar bo, who he will choose. Only God will choose. How do you do that? In the morning you'll come. Morning is Hesed. Morning is Hesed, and the Kohen is also Hesed. So that's what you're going to do. Vezot asu, that's what you're going to do. Verse 6, Chu lachem machtot, each one of you should take a pan, v'utnu bain esh, put fire, charcoals, burning charcoals on the pans, simu alem ktoret, put incense over it, and everybody will bring the incense. Because the incense, as we know, is the highest level of connection to godliness in the tabernacle, in the temple. Okay. And then Rashi says something very simple that we all, if we think about it, it's very simple. All of them should have known that. He says, you want the high priesthood? I want it too. I want it too. I want also to be the Kohen Gadol. I was not chosen. I'll give you the most beloved job of the Kohen, which is the incense. And it's also the poison of death. Just to remind you guys, just a few months ago, Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron, they brought an offering of incense to the temple. On the day of the dedication of the temple, they were both consumed by fire. And they're the sons of Aaron. Now, do you want to repeat the same thing? Because there's only one person who can bring the offering of the incense, of the Ktoret. We know, don't we know, that the one that God will choose will be the holiest of them all? Of course. But Moses said to them, "El amar le Moshe, הריני אומר לכם שלא תתחייבו, מי שיבחר בו יצא חי." Whoever of the 250 will be chosen will stay alive. All the rest will die. Which means I'm just wanted to remind you guys that if God is choosing somebody else but Aaron, instead of Aaron, my brother, he'll choose only one, which means you have the chances 249 out of 250 to die. You still want it, right? They say yes. And so we have two stories over here. It's not just Koraḥ, it's again 250 people that the story was there in front of them, and they could not read the message on the wall. The message that your chances are very high that you will die. All of them decided to follow up and try the best. And we asked the question, how could people be so blind? Again, how could people be so careless? How could people who are the wisest, holiest, can make such a mistake? And this is basically our story, because what the Torah wants to tell us is that even if you think that you are holy and you're righteous and you're knowledgeable and you think that you are a righteous person, look at these people. Can you say you're better than them? Which means we all have to take upon ourselves that idea that we learn already in the beginning of every Kabbalah class. And that study is, don't you ever trust the logic of your own senses. Why? Because we are so good as humans in creating a false logic that will look so overwhelmingly right and will walk surely into death. And here it is, story after story. Shlach lecha in Koraḥ. Same story, same idea. People are the bravest, the smartest, the wisest, the holiest. And still, they can fall. No one is basically immune of the mistake. So what is the Zohar teaching us? What should I do? Let's say, okay, I got it. I can't trust myself. I can't trust my logic. I cannot trust my perception of reality because that can be false. We are so good at doing that. And I brought the example of Professor Daniel Kahneman, who got a Nobel Prize in 2002 by proving that when people make the most important decisions connected to business, which we are talking about people who are in business and they are qualified, knowledgeable, trained, with a lot of experience still, what determines the decision is gut feeling, emotions. And that noise, and he printed a few years ago a book called Noise, saying that today the biggest problem in today's modern economy, you can't trust people because everybody is biased. And whoever will say he is objective, we would lie about other things too. We are all creatures of emotions, and we have no idea how strong these emotions are. And we can see today judges, bankers, experts in economy, wherever you go, and everybody knows from a personal experience, you go, let's say you want to an appraiser of your house, appraiser of a damage that happened in your business, and you bring few appraisers, both of them, three of them, four of them, known to be the greatest and most professional, and you get four different, if you bring four experts, you get four different opinions, which means, how would I know what is right? Me, let's say I'm the CEO of a company, insurance company, a bank, whatever. You can't trust. The law is the law. The rules are the rules. The basic ideas are the same. The information is the same. The problem is that humans do not see just the numbers. They are biased, always. How can you trust anyone? How can you trust yourself? Everybody knows you go to court, and it's not about the law, it's about the judge. It's not about the judge, it's about if you fell on the right day or the wrong day. How can we be sure? And let's go to the most important thing. How can I be sure I am making the right decision about the most important decisions in my life? So let's study the Zohar, and the Zohar will give us the solution, the technique. How do we do that? How do we get to guarantee that we fall less than most people if we just follow the instructions of the Zohar? So let's read the Zohar of this parasha. And the parasha starts with a presentation, with the presentation for the idea. Rabbi Patach, I'm reading verse 1 in the Zohar of the Parashat Koraḥ. Rabbi Patach, Rabbi Abba opened, הנחמדים מזהב ומפז רב, ומתוקים מדבש ונופת צופים. This is Psalms 19, speaking about how the words of the Torah, they are precious, more than gold, sweeter than honey, and they are like honeydew. Kama ilain pitgamei orata, how lofty are the words of the Torah, the teachings of the Torah. Kama yakirin inun, how precious they are. Teivin inun le'ila, the precious, the lovable above. Teivin inun lechola, the precious and lovable below, in the upper world, in the spiritual dimension, and in the physical dimension. They are acceptable. They are right eternally in the spiritual domain and in the physical domain. You can say, oh, that's good only for the spiritual domain, but we are not in the spiritual domain. No, they are applicable also to our logical, so-called logical domain. And as we said, I'll emphasize that again. Whatever looks to us logical has nothing to do with the truth. And whoever is a scientist even knows that many scientific, like truths, everybody knows that's right. And it holds on for a few years. And then new scientific revelations reveal that whatever everybody thought is the truth was basically not accurate. Okay, not accurate. Happens all the time in science. So the moment you say, but this is scientific according to today. Somebody printed a book about the half-life time of scientific theories, which means every scientific theory have a half-life time, which means it has an expiration date. Well, the moment you realize that you get more details about reality, then you need to reevaluate a lot of scientific theories that everybody is certain that they cannot be, shaken. Remember that. So if scientists are doing that, groups of scientists are doing that, can you trust your own common sense, your own perspective of what is right and what is wrong? How many times in your lifetime you had such a certainty in certain ideas, certain perceptions, you were ready to bet with all what is dear to you, about the validity of those perceptions, and then you realize that was inaccurate. If you never experienced that, you probably never lived, or maybe you live in a small little cave, never got out of the cave. So let's continue the Zohar. Begin the Inun Shema Kadisha, because the teachings of the Torah are the holy name of God. V'chol man dishtadel bo'ait, and whoever puts his effort in connecting to the Torah, Eshtadel b'Shema Kadisha is making the effort to connect to the holy name of God. V'ishtaziv mikula, and that will save him from every problem, from every trouble. Ishtaziv b'almadin, he will be saved in this physical world. V'ishtaziv b'almadati, and will be saved in the world to come. Tachazei, come and see. Kol man dishtadel bo'ait, however, makes the effort to connect to the Torah, Achid b'ilana dechayei, he unites with the tree of life. Kevan da'achid bei bechol achid, the moment he is united with the tree of life, is united with everything that is good. Dichtiv, as it says in Mishlei, Proverbs chapter 3, Etz chaimi lemachzikim ba. The Torah is a tree of life for the ones who are holding on to it. Which means, going back to Professor Daniel Kahneman, your state of mind, your mood, will determine how do you evaluate the data, the information, the proofs, which means we all the time make commentaries from all the data we accumulate. But we have we human beings, we have that nature that we first have an opinion, and then we force the data into our fixed opinion. Never happened to you? If it never happened to you, if you never realized that that's happened to you, there's a saying about it in the Talmud, Suma ba'aruba. You're a blind person looking for his way in the chimney, which means you're not just blind, you are in the chimney. Everything is really covered with dirt, dark, coal out around you. That's where most people are most of the time. Did you ever see people smart, with experience, professionals, looking at the data, looking at the information, and coming with an idea, a judgment that you look at them and says, how can somebody be so blind? That applies to every human being. We are in this place, and because we're human beings, we are so fragile. We can so easily, as the Torah is proving to us, the wisest people, the highest people with Holy Spirit, like Koraḥ and the leaders of the tribes, and you fall so badly, and it costs your life on that day. Who can say I'm immune? Who can say, I know what's going on, trust me? And people who really think that they know and they don't have doubt about their decision making, they are the scariest of them all. Let's continue. Rabbi Yitzchak says, verse 2, in the Zohar Parashat Koraḥ, in the Sulam commentary, Rabbi Yitzchak אמר, כל מאן דהשתדל באורייתא חירו יתלי מכולם. Whoever really makes the effort to connect spiritually to the value, to the frequency of the Torah, it's not just studying how many people can read the Torah. As a scientific evaluation, let us test the text. And they come up with all kinds of ideas that later on archaeology, findings, and so on prove them wrong. So many times it happens. People still have the audacity to continue and saying, well, we know better. How come you know better? Better than the ones that failed before you? They just came out. It's not a scientific thing. It's an opinion that now you take all the information to prove your opinion right. We do it all the time. Not just about the Torah, about everything we experience. How do we really know? In what imaginary, false world that we invented do we live in? Whoever is making that effort to connect not to the words of the Torah, but to the intensity, the frequency, the spiritual force that the Torah represents, God's power. If that's your intention, if that's your meditation, you'll do that. You'll make it happen. And when you connect to it, chiru itle mikola, you will achieve true liberty, true freedom. Freedom of what? Chiru mimita, freedom from death. What is death? So I explained it many times. When Adam was warned by God, do not eat from the tree of knowledge, good and evil, because on the day you eat from it, you will surely die. Adam lived according to the Torah till the age of 930 years old. That's consequences. But the Zohar says, yeah, he lived in the human calendar 930 years old. However, he started to die on that moment. And we, his descendants, that's why in Hebrew, when you want to say humans, you say Bnei Adam, children of Adam. We are his children because we pay the price. The moment Adam sinned, he started to die. He started to be subjugated, enslaved to fears and phobias and pain and narrow-mindedness. that follow the fears and the phobia and the pain. Because we are so much managed by our pain, our hidden prejudice, which are derived from pain, from the fear of moving on, the fear of something that is new that maybe I cannot control. Why am I afraid not to be in control? Because if I'm not going to be in control, then it will be painful. It will be embarrassing. It will be not easy. It's going to be uncomfortable. And that will get me out of control. So I'm afraid of change. If that fear is running, handling, managing my thinking, so it's not the need to know the truth. I'm not free to see what's going on. I'm not free to evaluate the details, the data, the information, the picture, the way I really want it. Because what's managing my decision making is the fear, the pain, and all what is called death. When you connect to the Torah, you can achieve freedom, and then you can make the right decision. Kemad Amran, as it is being said, begin dechiu alei sharia. Because there was freedom dwelling upon it, upon what? The tablets. V'achidbei. Ilu Israel mitatrin beoraita. If the nation of Israel was really connected to the Torah, making it a crown for them, Yishtazvu mikol hadei will be saved from all troubles. V'lo yishtakhu begaluta, they won't be held in exile. V'dahu dichtiv charut al haluchot, that's why where it says engraved on the tablets, and the commentators are saying it doesn't really say engraved, it is said liberty, freedom, cherut al haluchot, over the tablets. And then the Zohar says, and I'll continue, Kemada Amar, as it is said in the book of Deuteronomy 33, Mimino esh dat lamo, on his right side, there's a fire and the law for him. Usmola itkalel bimina, and the left is included in the right. What is that? Man de'avid yemina smola, usmola yemina, ha-ihu kilu chariv alma. Whoever will try to replace right with left and left with right, it's like that person brings the world into annihilation, into destruction. What does that mean? And here, the Torah, the Zohar, brings us to the solution that I promised to place in front of you. Verse 3. Bo ur'eh, come and see. Aaron, the high priest, hu yamin, he represents the right side, the right column. Symbolism for Hesed, loving kindness. Therefore, I said it many times, when we tell somebody, start with the right foot, it doesn't mean that if you got into your new store or business by mistake with the left foot, that's an omen for a bad luck. No, it's not. What it says, start with the right foot, means when you want to start any great venture in your life, start with the right foot, which means the first thing you have to focus on is on the right column, installing the right column. What's the right column? What is the value that I want to bring to humanity, to the world around me? That means starting with the right foot. What is the value? Which means, what is that I want? How do I want to improve people's lives? Why? Because if you want to make a living, you have to convince people to give you their money. And the first thing in your mind is, what is that I want to give them? That's called right column. in order for them to be convinced to give me my money. Remember that. Never forget it. That's why you have to start always with chesed, with giving, with value that you're supposed to give to others. That was Aaron, the high priest. And therefore we studied a few weeks ago when the Zohar said Aaron was chosen by God to be the high priest, Kohen Gadol. Okay? Kohen means in Hebrew the one who serves the people, the office of service. Gadol is the high, but means also giving in the Kabbalistic symbolic language. Okay? When we open the ark, we sing Lecha Hashem HaGedula VaGevurah VaTiferet. God has the Gedula, which is another word for Chesed. Gadol is Chesed. Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VaNorah, we say in the silent prayer, the God that is Gadol, great, but it means also Chesed, Gibor, Gevurah, judgment. VaNorah, the awesome one, the one of all, but that's also central column. What does that mean? What are these symbols? We'll explain, because without understanding those symbolisms, we won't be able to understand how to escape the destiny of the spies, Koraḥ and his people. The Levites, Alevim and small Gevurah, the Levites are left column, Gevurah. So when we say Aaron, the high priest, is the chariot for Chesed, so the Zohar explained to us, why did God choose Aaron to be the high priest? Because Aaron did not give God any other choice, because he was the one person that his love to the people, any person among the nation, was so great, was so overwhelming, so God has no choice but, if he wanted to have somebody that his life, his being, is the epitome of that sephirah, emanation that is called Chesed, Aaron did not leave God any other choice. He was the chosen one because his actions, says the Zohar, brought him into that place. There was no other choice. He was the chosen one because every day Aaron chose to be the representative of Chesed on a physical earth more than any human being in his time. Therefore, when the logical question was, who is the person that when he blesses the people will be the most satisfied? Overwhelmingly, the answer was Aaron. Everybody loved him. Aaron was the person that every person among the Israelite nation knew that if you want to find somebody who would love you unconditionally, you found it. That was Aaron. That was a physical human being who represented God's chesed more than anyone else. So he brought himself to that position, and it was not because he was Moses' brother. The problem with Koraḥ was, the first problem, that he didn't see all the details, although he was a sage. His knowledge of Kabbalah was so much greater than mine and yours and all of us together. How come he didn't see that? So we said the first word in the Parashah was the word that symbolized everything. Vaikach. He was thinking about taking. Taking what? The glory, the power, the hello. Aaron had these amazing clothes you read about in Parashat Tetzaveh in the Torah. He was wearing the breastplate. He was wearing the tzitz, the golden crown that the name of God was engraved on it. He was Kohen Gadol that everybody admired. Koraḥ wanted it too. You know, if you want somebody else's title, power, honor, you're jealous. But there are two kinds of jealousy, according to our sages. One jealousy is the jealousy that takes you to purgatory, to hell. This is the jealousy that, why can't I have what he has? How can I take it away from him? How can I disown him and get what he's got? Vaikach. He came with the idea, I want to take it from him. But there's another jealousy. There's a holy jealousy. Kinat sofrim tarbe chokhmah. Our sages said, jealousy, there's another jealousy, the jealousy that you see what other people have. You're jealous about what they have. You want it too, so you learn from them. What did they do so you can do the same to have it too? Which means this is the basic of healthy competition. You learn, you see somebody that is successful, somebody that his actions and achievements shadow everybody else's, and you get inspired. You don't want what they have. You want to achieve what they achieved by doing what they did. Did Korah try to achieve the priesthood by becoming the most loving person among the Israelites? No. He just started a competition. How can I take? That's why the first word of the parashah is Vayikach. He came to take. The moment you come to take, and you're starting with the left foot, and you're doomed at that moment. Why? Because it says very clear. Koraḥ רצה לעשות חילוף הימין לשמאל. Koraḥ wanted to change the powers. That the power that starts, the power that takes over is the power of left column, judgment, before the power of Hesed. The moment you try to do that, he wanted the priesthood, which is right column, for the Levites, who are the left column. Therefore, he was punished. Because he became blind because his ambition. There's nothing wrong on having ambition. You have to be clear about it. Do we want to tell people, like some religious, you find always in religion, doesn't matter which religion, the idea, you want to be close to God, you have to shut down. You have to detach from any desire, from any ambition. You know, if the competition is who has a greater ambition, which means who can subdue, detach from ambition, then a simple object like this cup is closer to God than I am. And it's not a competition. He wants nothing, just to be a cup. I'll try to change his opinion about being a cup. He will do his best to prevent me from changing him. Okay? Till I bring a big hammer, or till I smash it to the floor, and I apply a force greater than his desire to stay a cup, and I'll win. Okay? But this cup is closer to God. And therefore, our sages of blessed memory says, a human being can reach so high all the way to Moses. Every human being. You just have to want it enough. But you have to do what Moses did. You have to acquire the purity the humility, the holiness that Moses did. However, if you do not try to control your selfish desires, then even you'll fall so low that even a mosquito will be closer to God than you are. Even a mosquito. Why? A mosquito is doing exactly what God designed him to do. No less and no more. Mosquitoes will never dream to become cows or bumblebees. Mosquito will always try to be a mosquito. A cup will always try to stay a cup. A human being has the choice. What do you want to be when you grow bigger? What do you want to be? Now, denying our desire to receive is foolish. Why? Because we were created by the Creator to be His vessels to receive joy, power, light, wisdom, everything that is good and precious. We're not allowed to deny that. However, there's a problem. The desire, the ambition is holy. And how do we learn it? From the binding of Isaac. When Abraham, the chariot for Hesed, loving kindness, grace, is trying to slaughter his son, the moment his knife is touching the neck of his son Isaac, and Isaac was the chariot for Gevurah, judgment. And the angel of God says, don't touch the lad. Don't touch him. You bound him, that's enough. Never, ever slaughter, remove, deny your desires. Your desires are holy in the source, by the root. Because who created our desires? The Creator himself. He created them because if I don't have a desire, an ambition, how could I enjoy God's light? How can I fulfill His intention of creating this universe? However, we go back to the binding of Isaac. However, always the desire to receive the judgment, the Gevurah, must be overcome, bound by the Hesed. You want to have it all? Make sure you share it with others. Make sure you don't enjoy it only by yourself. That could be richness, wisdom, health, and power, everything. If you bind your ambition, your desire, by grace, by giving, by caring, I want to be rich, I want to be powerful, I want to be wise, I want to be healthy. And I want only when I want to use it in order, I bind it, I condition it. I'll have it so I can give more, share more with others. What did I do at that moment? Abraham is binding Isaac. Aaron is overpowering the Levites. Koraḥ. This is the beautiful symbolism of the Torah. The moment you say, oh, the Levites, the left column, they should rule. They should be first. You should always start with the left foot, which means, first of all, I'm here to take. Vaikach. And then if I have some left, I'm going to give to somebody else. This is the destruction that we are all afraid of. The moment you start with the left foot, the moment you start with, I need to take, I'm here to take, and I have to take, and that's judgment. And the moment you start with judgment, you immediately find yourself the farthest away from the source of all that is good. because the easiest way to get in touch with the Creator is with love and kindness. That's where every religion fails. They think that it's only love. Just love, just give. Give everything. Don't ever take, because you have to give. And when you give, you are closer to God. You know what happens to somebody who's walking only with the right foot? He will walk in circles. When you start with the right foot, the next stage is the left foot. You come with a value that you want to share with others, but the next thing is you have to make a business plan. How are you going to be able to support that value? Which means you have to have an income. You have to make an income that will be enough to support your life, okay, as a person, livelihood, bills, a roof over your head, and you have to supply money in order to be able to support your business. Everything, business is, there's overhead. You have to have a clear business plan explaining how you can continue serve other people by having an income that will cover up everything, so you will be able leisurely, happily, really serve other people. And more than that, even you have enough budget to invest in expanding your ability to simply care, share, serve other people. But if you don't do that, if you just try to just give, how long can you give? You'll fall apart. When you don't have money to cover up for the rent, your expenses, buying basic products, okay, or whatever you need, or buying human help. If you don't have the money to do that, then how long could you continue serving the public? Remember, so it's how do you balance the right, the giving, the left, the receiving? When you breathe out, you need to breathe in so you can continue breathing out. That's how the world is structured. That's how it's built. It's built in the way that the right has to start always. Start with the right foot. The right has to bind the left. That's why people learned you need, when you have an organization, a company, you need to state a mission that is greater than just making money. We're here to serve, we have to improve humanity in this level, and that phase, and that aspect, okay, and then, okay, how are we going to do it? Right and left. When the right is overcoming the left, when the left is subjugated to the right, when the left is harnessed, bound by the right, conditioned by the right, then you can expand the left as much as you want. Then you become no problem if you become smarter, richer, stronger, healthier. Because when the left is bound by the right, you kosher the left, it becomes holy. Holy, complete. And because Koraḥ wanted that the left will come first, he was not very mistaken, because finally, in the end of days, the Zohar is teaching us, when we correct all our vessels, all our desires, all our ambitions, we can finally desire what God wanted us to desire, much bigger than anything we can imagine. That's called the resurrection of the dead. But meanwhile, that's a very dangerous game, to put the left before the right, to put your selfishness before altruism, very dangerous. How many people try that? I come first and failed. You know, evil, selfish people have a self-destructive mechanism. They don't need enemies. Basically, they become their own biggest enemies. Why? Because it's against the nature of the universe. Well, that's what the Zohar is teaching us. Verse 4, listen carefully. ויקח קורח, and Korah took. What did it take? What did he take? הוא משיב, לקח עצה על עצמו. He took a bad advice. כל הרודף אחר שאינו שלו, הוא בורח מפניו. Whoever tries to take what doesn't belong to him, it will run away from him. ולא, and more than that, אלא מה שיש לו נאבד ממנו, he will lose what he already has. קורח רדף אחר שאינו שלו. קורח chased after what doesn't belong to him. שלא עבד, he lost what he's got. He lost everything. He lost his fortune when the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up Koraḥ and his family. He lost all the money. He was the richest person. He lost his wisdom. He lost his status as one of the most respected people among the nation. Koraḥ pursued after what doesn't belong to him. He lost what he had, and he didn't get what he was going after. More than that, because he awakened the left column, he became blind. He didn't see anymore. Verse 5, Koraḥ halach b'machloket. Koraḥ created a dispute, a fight, judgment. Ma'u machloket? What is dispute? Hachaka v'dichui. That's separation, going away from the light of God. Hachaka v'dichui shelemala v'mata. And therefore he was pushed away above and below. ומי שרוצה לדחות תיקון עולם, whoever wants to delay תיקון עולם, the correction, we are all in a journey that is called tikkun olam. Every human being, knowingly or not knowingly, is part of the journey of the children of Adam. We all of humanity, the children of Adam. Each one of us has his own journey to do tikkun olam. What does it mean tikkun olam? To learn how to make the world better. What you have to correct is not what you have to correct. We're different. We have different duties, different goals. My correction is not your correction. We all unique, different from each other. We all have part of that great tikkun process of humanity. But the moment we awaken dispute, fight, hatred, in that moment, you're just going against your own birth right and birth duty. The moment you fight against shalom, shalom is not peace. Shalom comes from the Hebrew word shalem, wholeness, completion. When things are whole, when we include everybody in the job, in the process, whoever is trying to say it's only us, you're not part of it. I'm the one who's right. Nobody else is right. The moment you don't see holistically that we're all in it together, that's pushing away shalom, pushing away the tikkun olam. ומי שחולק על שלום, whoever disputes over shalom, חולק על שמו הקדוש. He's disputing the holy name of God because one of the holy names of God is shalom. So, how do we do that? So we learn There is a great saying, Ezeu Gibor, הכובש את יצרו. Who is Gibor? Gibor comes from the word Gevurah. The person, or in simple Hebrew, a hero. But it doesn't, the English word does not include. Gibor comes from the word Gevurah, judgment. Who is the hero judgment? הכובש את יצרו, the one who can take over his evil inclination. Which means we call it, Rabbi Ashla calls it Koraḥ Gevurah, the power to be a hero, to overcome. In English, we don't have the vocabulary for that. Who's the hero? The one who has the power to overcome his inclination. How do you do that? You do it in few stages. The first stage is to be aware, to be humble enough to look inside and to be aware of your inner judgment. When you judge yourself, when you judge others, when you come just with the purpose to take, just for yourself alone, your egotism, your self-centeredness, when you realize, how do you realize that that's where you are? It makes you some kind of the opposite of shalom. You become exclusive and not inclusive. You have no place for loving other people. Loving them does not mean agreeing with them. Loving them means God created them. He created me. We are all in it together. I don't have to do what they do. They don't have to do what I do. And we complement each other. That is shalom. That's a normal society. That's a normal human society because if you look at humanity, every nation has its own part in what makes the world shalom, complete. So some are much better, in creating this, and some are better in creating that. We're different. Every human society is another part of the spectrum of the white light of the sun. That's why we have 7 colors to the rainbow, each divided to 10 sefirot, 70 nations. They're also divided till every person has its own unique role in that shalom. The moment I don't have the patience and the tolerance for other people's angle, part, I'm not in the game. Again, I don't have to agree, okay? Because we're not the same. We're different. But we're in it together. The moment I don't follow love others as you love yourself, the same way you want other people to tolerate your unique traits that you're not like everybody else, you should tolerate them too for that. Okay? More than that. More than that. When we feel that judgment, we're judging everybody, it means we went to the danger zone. We are off course. We simply went off the highway. We're not going straight anymore. We fell to the ravine. How do I get back into it? When you simply overcome the judgment, the anger, the lust, the egotism, you put it aside just for a second. You let go and you let God. How do you let God in? You simply, yes, you detach yourself from your desire and you hand it over to God. You pray to Him. You meditate about it. You do everything you can to get into the Almighty, to get to connect to Him. You know what are you doing when you're doing that? You're getting out of the box. Because inside the box, that is the place of thinking, logic, justification, whatever the place that our ego, our selfishness, our old perception and opinionism get us stuck in. The moment I let go, just for a moment, and I'm letting God, how? Rabbi Ashlag is saying, try to connect to God. Pray to Him. Pray to connect to Him. When you feel inner peace, when you feel that feeling of inclusiveness, unconditional love, you overpowered the judgment. The Kohen, the Hesed, took over the Levite, the judgment. Now, make your decision. Now, don't give up your desire to succeed, to achieve. Whatever idea that you'll have will come from the Creator. The words that you say, the decision that will come up into your mind or into your heart, follow it. And Rabbi Ashlag is saying again, even if you make the wrong decision, don't worry. God will make it right. Follow. Chesed over judgment. That's why it's called Koraḥ Gevurah. You overcome. You apply, you take, like what Abraham did to Isaac. Abraham, Chesed, only giving. He's holding the knife. He's putting a knife on the throat of his son Isaac. He's thinking about removing judgment at all from the world. No more desire. And the angel of God said, no, no, don't touch the lad. Leave your desire unchecked, intact. Now that you created that overcoming, you're a hero. With the right column, the Chesed took over a bound. Now, with love, kindness, service, you want to be richer, more powerful, smart. God will grant your wish. Why? You're right now on the straight path. Right and left synthesized together to the desire to receive for the sake of giving. And you can go on. It will be the right decision. You will see the right, what's right written on the wall, the way the Creator meant you to read it. You'll find yourself making it. If you do that before you open your mouth to say, before making a decision, small ones, big ones, you'll find yourself always successful. You'll never find yourself fall and not into the pit, not in Korah's pit, and not in the spies. You'll be successful in achieving your own goals that the Creator simply put for you. Good luck to all of us.